folks, I'm Dale with Tuckasegee Fly Shop, and we're out here on the West Fork of the Pigeon River today. And in a beautiful setting, we're going to talk about how to read trout water, how to approach water when you first come from the car or whatnot, when you first get to the water, how to approach it, and where the trout might be laying as you walk into a hole. So when you first approach a stream, you want to work from downstream upstream when targeting trout with dry flies and nymphs. So we might look to the head of the pool and see lots of good oxygenated water. Where there's white water, that's good oxygenated water, and trout like that. And you know it's a good run when you see the oxygenated water flowing down into mid-pool in a deeper hole, and then coming on down to the back of the pool where there's good happy resting water there. Typically you'll find more rainbow trout sitting in the head of the pool, and then a mix of browns, brook trout, and rainbow trout mid-pool, and mainly brook trout and brown trout in the back of the pool. Rainbow trout like to just eat everything they can, and think of the white water as the buffet line. That's your food source. There's nymphs, various insects falling out of trees coming through that pipeline, and those rainbows will sit up in the head of the pools trying to eat as much as they can, and that's how they end up out-competing brown trout and brook trout for the food source. Let's take a closer look at this. So as we approach this pool from the back of the pool, we're going to kind of forego some of this water here on the bank. That's going to be the first water to warm up here in the morning. We're out here in the midsummer, so it's a little warm, but the coldest water is going to certainly be in the deeper parts. So we're going to forego this run here that's closest to the bank. We can sort of sight fish and see like there's nothing going on here. Well, we've got good opportunities over here on this run. And what we're going to do, we're going to fish our way into it. So because we're working the way the side of the river we're on here, we're going to work this pool, think counterclockwise. So we're going to start here on this edge and then cast our way deeper so that our first cast isn't lining fish, giving ourselves the best chance to be stealthy. Check our surroundings for trees, overhang. Just a nice short cast in there, kind of fishing right beside the seam. I know I'm a little short, but that's okay. Remember, I want to cast my way into it. So I'm also using this time to kind of get a feel for how this fly, I've got a dry dropper set up today, so it's going to give me a feel for how this dry fly with the nymph is going to cast, making sure I have really good presentations when I get to a target. Okay, and I'm going to start easing up. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to change my position, and I'm going to start on the right side of this run, and then cast my way into it. And essentially today, we're using the dry fly as an indicator. More likely that the fish is going to grab onto that nymph than the dry fly this morning, but you never know. So at least our indicator has a hook. And you see me every now and then, I'll try to hold my rod as high as I can so that instead of mending, I can just keep the fly line off the water to adjust to the pace of the current. Because mending could spook fish here, so almost like I'm trying to high stick it. So now I'm starting to target the mid-pool. We've got good, happy water all the way across. So I'm going to first start right by this rock closest to us, and then start working to the left here. You may need to mend downstream. Keep that dry fly going at a nice pace. One thing to also consider is the depth of the pool and the clarity of the water. If this was a deeper pool, the fish could see me better. So think about how light refracts in water. Fish have rods and cones in their eyes that they can see color similar to the way we see. So the deeper the pool, the less light. There we go, I just missed one. I stung him. That was fun. The deeper the water, the more stealthier we need to be. All right, so I just had one eat the nymph there mid-pool, right where he should have been, and I was talking and fell asleep at the wheel on the hook set. So we just missed a fish, so I'm gonna let that kind of settle down, and I'm gonna start working again here in this side of the seam, this right side, and kind of fish my way back into it. Change the fly, show them something different. High stick it a little. And I'm pretty much gonna work that mid-pool one more time before moving upstream. And you see I'm letting it drift all the way back, still into the back pool. Getting a good long drift, keeping that fly in the strike zone as long as possible. And we do have summer conditions here, so a lot of times, you know, in DH season, you might get 3 shots at the same fish. In the summer, the fish get smarter. They're a little more wild. It could have been a stream-born fish. So you had your shot, move on to the next hole. Be humble. In other words, don't stay in one spot for 3 hours targeting one fish. So now my casts are starting to reach into the head of the pool. And same technique here. I'm going to start, fish the closest side to me, and work my way into it. High sticking it through here. Don't have to mend. Low chance of hooking up there. Work the far side. Picked up a little bit of drag. Start again. You may need to throw more than one mend into it. But it's the same procedure. Start closest to the seam to you, and then work your way across. You don't want to cast over fish to get to fish. So I mentioned kind of foregoing some of the water closest to the bank if it's too shallow. Like this water here to our right, it's maybe an inch deep, kind of running over the cobbles here on the bank. But we do have this structure here in front of us. We got a big flat rock, stretches out almost into the center mid of the pool, and it's creating some oxygen, creating some current, and an eddy. So it's kind of a bucket right there, creating a nice little holding place for trout. So, you know, it doesn't hurt to throw a few casts in there and just kind of investigate it. You know, approach it very stealthily and throw a few casts in there. I'm not saying spend 20 minutes in here, but you know, 3 or 4 casts each side of the eddy and the seam, and then if nothing's happening, let's move on. So when approaching these pools, you almost want to think a couple moves ahead as well. So you may walk into a pool and then realize, oh, I need to be on the other side of the river. But then for the next part of the pool, you need to cross. So it's almost like a chess game, thinking a few moves ahead. So we're going to start a few sneaky casts right here on this bank, seeing if we can find some trout that are kind of resting over here in this current. But again, we've got a good chance of getting hung in a tree, but it could be worth it. Kind of right there on the side of that seam, slowly drifting into it. And if you get a good drift and nothing happens, and you got good confidence, we've already seen activity on this setup, then let's move on. Remember, let's not spend too much time in an area where fish maybe aren't being as active as they should be. You don't want to get bogged down. So coming back across, working around this tree, I see right there where I landed that fly, there's a nice shoal there, but just to the left of where I landed, there's a pocket with current. So We're going to try to do a curve cast. Come around, there we go. That's more in it. And this is where extending your leader from 9 foot to 12 foot can help. I'm just honest, we're just moving up each cast. We're not going to spend too much time here. So I'm having to walk around this tree at this point, and now the good pocket is directly upstream of me, and that's not necessarily ideal. So I'm going to go ahead and just cross back over to the right side of this stream and give myself a better angle at what may be laying up here. I can also, with good polarized glasses, see the depth a lot better, changing the light and getting the glare off. And you notice I'm not able to do a traditional false cast over my right shoulder. It's almost like we're casting downstream. It's okay to watch your cast and make sure you get a nice good loop, nice tight loop, and then send it up. Couple casts, move forward, send it. There we go. All right, so this is a perfect instance of why you want to fish a dry dropper. We've got a overachieving rainbow. Excuse me, that's a brown. Beautiful wild brown. All right, he just popped off, and honestly, with our heat right now, that's perfect. We don't even want to touch that fish. Hooked up with a brown. He was sitting right in the mid pool, kind of right behind me here, right where he should be. If I would approach that fish from directly downstream from him, I think we would have lined him and spooked him. About a 7-inch wild brown, really beautiful fish right here on a delayed harvest stream in Haywood County. So we could continue working up into these mid pool or the head of the pool structures. Gets a little dicier in there. So probably we caught that fish there, we'd move on to the next pool. But interestingly enough, that fish did take the dry fly. I'm fishing a chubby Chernobyl Royal. It's got peacock, ice peacock dubbing, and then red dubbing there for the body, making it a Royal. This is one of my favorite summertime indicator flies. I love fishing the dry dropper, especially with the chubbies, because it serves as an indicator for the nymph. But as you just saw, you got a great opportunity of catching a fish on a dry fly, which is, in the summer, that's the best time to do it. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. We hope you've learned something. Come see us. Even though it's summer, it's still beautiful. We've still got good fishing going on in hot conditions. Just make sure you fish it in the morning and be respectful to the fish. Don't handle them too much. If you enjoy what you're seeing, make sure you hit that like or subscribe button, and don't hesitate to reach out to us at any of our 3 locations in Bryson City, Silva, and Waynesville, and you give us a call or email.